Ctrl Alt Delete. It's the title of the album. It's also a song. Actually, when I was writing this album, I had an idea of what I wanted the title to be for the album. We're gonna put a pin there for another album. Maybe it'll be the next one, I don't know. But Ctrl Alt Delete, so how that came about. So I had a friend, and there was a time in our lives where we would sit in his basement and just talk for hours and hours and hours and hours. Like it was a time. And one time when we were sitting in his basement talking, he made a comment about just things going on. I don't remember exactly what we were talking about, but he was like, yeah, we just need to hit Ctrl Alt Delete on all of that and just like start all over again. And I was like, that's a clever way to say that. And I'm sure he's not the first. As I've gone on through life since that conversation, I realized he's not the first person to say that, but I realized that that was, you know, very indicative of where I was. So, you know, as if you heard me talk about this album, it's a transition. It's about evolving and all of those other great things. And when I got to Ctrl Alt Delete, I feel like that's the song that kind of like brings it, you know, brings it full circle. You know, like all of this is happening. I'm trying to get hired. People are sleeping on me, X, Y, and Z. My name is VA. I'm introducing you. And it's basically like with Ctrl Alt Delete, it's the theme of the whole album. Like the version of me that you had, I need you to put Ctrl Alt Delete on that version of who I am and get to know the new me. You know, like that's just basically what it is. Forget, you know, okay, yes, I'm trying to tell you to go higher. I'm trying to tell you like, yeah, it's okay if you sleep on me. Yeah, I'm VA, I ain't sweet, blah, 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 blah. I'm saying all this like, okay, just hit Ctrl Alt Delete. Let's just refresh, hit anew. So that's Ctrl Alt Delete. And I felt like that was the song that really summarized the project in its totality. Higher, I mentioned, was a very like vulnerable song. Ctrl Alt Delete is also a very vulnerable song in a different type of way. Like especially the second verse of that song. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine I went to college with, and he listened to the album and he liked it. And I was talking about the lyrics. Like I said, I know when first time we hear an album or a song, we're not really paying that close attention to the lyrics, but the second verse of Ctrl Alt Delete is also like very, very showing, very revealing of who I am. So the lyrics of that song of that second verse is, never did I fit in, so all I did was give in. Years I played masquerade, marching in that fake parade. Did it well, made the grade, let the real me slowly fade, allowed my hopes and dreams to rest in peace in the early grave. And basically what I'm saying there is, for a very long time, I put on a mask. I was told this is the version of me that I have to present to be successful, to make friends, to blend in X, Y, and Z. And I played that role. And I played it really well, where I was mixing and mingling with all these different peoples and going to high society events and, you know, getting certain jobs, things like that. And at the end of the day, it came to a point where it all crumbled. It was like my higher self was like, okay, you're doing all of this, but at the end of the day, this isn't who you really are, which is why it's a struggle as I embrace the artist version of me. Is like, I gave you a version of me that's not really me. You guys loved it, but that's not really me. Well, it's not me in totality. Like parts that is me, but that's only a fraction of me. And I just don't want to live this life being only a fraction of who I really am. So it got very claustrophobic. Like this is, you know, like this only being me. And I remember I had a boyfriend, and I told him, I was like, oh yeah, I rap. And he, without even hearing me, he was like, no, you don't. No, you don't. Like, yeah, nah, okay, sure, okay, whatever. Like, just totally dismissed it. And even like Like, I remember like last summer, like as I'm developing the album, I was on a boat with friends, and one of the friends on the boat was someone I went to high school, known him for years. And he's playing music, and I'm like, yeah, I got music, you know, can I share something with you that I'm doing? And he's like, oh, what are you doing? And I'm like, I rap. And he goes, like, he gets like this, ugh. Like, I'm like, really? Like, you haven't heard it. Like, I was like, you probably should hear it before you make judgment. Now, if you hear it and you don't like it, cool, I get it. But if you like make a judgment of not liking it just based upon whatever, I think that's like not fair. So, and I knew he'd make that version, like I knew he made that reaction because he has this version of me in his head. And I just got tired of it. And I'm just like, everyone needs to hit Ctrl Alt Delete and get to know the new version of me. And even at the end of the song, like I say, you know, like, you know, people condemn people for changing. Like, oh, you changed. And I'm like, yeah, I changed. It's like, we're all supposed to change. Like, we're all supposed to evolve and grow and become better than who we are, or explore new and different things. But yet so many of us want to stop us from growing. So that was Ctrl Alt Delete. Like, and it's not just for me. Like, that was me sharing my story of what I'm going through, but it's also about everyone else hitting Ctrl Alt Delete. You probably need to show up to family functions and hit Ctrl Alt Delete on the people that, you know, of certain family members. Like, yeah, cousin JoJo may have been this person yesterday, but certain things may have happened where Joe's like, I don't want to be that person anymore. Like, it happens all the time. And to your credit, some people don't change and some people stay in that bucket. But I think we need to be open-minded to the fact that people can change and can evolve. And we have to open our minds to be like, okay, let's get to know you. Like, there's a lot of people that probably say, oh, I remember Vanessa from high school. I remember Vanessa from college. I pledged with her and she was this. Yeah, that person is dead. That person, I choked her out. She died, and this version of her now exists. And I need you to update your system. Microsoft's 97 is gone. We're not even working on Microsoft anymore. It's more of an iOS system, you know, it's things are new. You got to update, you know, you got to refresh. And, that was what Ctrl Alt Delete is about. Is about like refreshing your relationships with people. And it can be fun, actually, because because once you start to realize other people change, you will see that it gives you space to change. You know, I think also people are afraid to embrace their change. And I'm also trying to give people permission to change themselves. Like in the third verse, it says, searching for the cheat codes instead of riding your road, listening to some dummy, and you psych yourself out your own zone. You know, like, you're listening to somebody else and you know what you want to do. You know what it is you need to do, yet you psych yourself out thinking that you're supposed to go another road based upon what someone else has told you. And how often have we like, man, I knew I should have did this. I knew I should have gone down that road, but I listened to someone who has more experience or is an expert in this area, and I didn't do it. Fun fact, it has nothing to do with the album. Years ago, I was friends with a guy, and we had the idea to do this podcast, YouTube series, where it's gonna be a male and a woman talking about sports. And we kept saying we're gonna do it, and we're gonna do it, and things happened, and we didn't do it. We second-guessed ourselves, blah, blah, blah. Long story short, ESPN put out a program called His and Hers. And it was on ESPN for a while. It's not on there anymore, but it was there and it existed. And me and my friend could have been that person, and somebody else got that money. So you guys gotta like jump out the window and explore yourself and do, you know, and do what you want to do. But yeah, it's also, it's showing how the song is about how I showed up one way and it didn't work. And I started to see that I'm evolving, or I'm not even evolving, but I'm putting a version of myself out that's not 100% authentic. And then I'm giving you also permission to be 100% authentically you too. Another thing about Ctrl Alt Delete that I want to share is when I wrote that song, it was like toward the end of the year. And I was wrapping up that song at the end of the year. And my music producer, Richard McCrary, Rick the Maestro, who's out in Atlanta under Track House Atlanta, and when he gave me the track to write to, it was called Cheers. And most of the time I don't question him on why he calls a track what he calls it. I just kind of go with it. And I asked him, I was like, why did you call this track Cheers? I just want to know. And he was like, actually, when I was working on this particular track, it was the end of the year, and I finished it on New Year's Eve. So I was like, cheers. And I was like, oh, that's kind of dope, because now I'm finishing the lyrics to this song at the end of the year. And so it's like, I think this song is a great New Year's song, because what should we all do at the end of the year? Hit Ctrl Alt Delete and start afresh. So yeah, that's the fun fact about Ctrl Alt Delete. It has a very New Year's kind of feel to it.